Now, before I start with the review, I like to make it clear, I enjoy movies for the story first, and for the action second. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's continue with the review of my favorite movie of all time. It might be weird to you, but this movie is a masterpiece like no other. It's a movie in its own category. I would say this movie is similar to the stature of Citizen Kane, from the score to the visuals to the very tragic story that shows humanity at the point of breaking into another world war. A war which we still fear to this very day that might occur. This movie tackles past and current topics and issues. For me, it's a timeless classic, a masterpiece. I won't be breaking down the movie for you. Instead, I'll be discussing everything that makes the movie a masterpiece for me. To better understand how the Watchmen comic got made almost with 100% accuracy, we must first talk about the person responsible for bringing the comic to life. The director of the movie, Zack Snyder, is a proven visual genius for such movies, well, all of them. With his latest movie, Batman v Superman, continuing that trend, but like all of his movies, they are not just visuals, they are quality movies. Snyder has always had more depth in his movies than you're led to believe from a single viewing. You can truly appreciate the excellence that Snyder brings to the big screen for true fans of the source material. On top of that, he has not only managed to make it easy for casual viewers to enjoy this movie, but he doesn't forget about the people who rely on him to do his best, proven by him releasing a director's cut and an ultimate cut of Watchmen, extending the runtime of the movie, adding content that fans of the Alan Moore comic would undoubtedly appreciate. Speaking of Alan Moore, it's about time we talked about what really brings color to such a dark and dreary world. If it weren't for the diverse and intriguing characteristic of each individual, this comic movie would have gone to a very steep and downfall spiral. But the depth and complexity of a particular person brings that long dreary color to the dark times awaiting the beginning of World War III.
I think it's hilarious.
A character nobody can relate to, yet deep inside, we can always find something that'll make us want to go.
Mother, forgive me.
Because we're all done something wrong once in our lifetime. He is not your regular superhero, but he isn't your average anti-hero as well. He's a man who sees the world as it is, but can't be bothered to save it. So he just embraces it as it is and tries to live like every day is his last day on this godforsaken world as it is on the brink of war.
It's all a fucking joke.
Even if I wanted to help, my future is blocked.
One of those tragic stories that turned into an even sadder story. Dr. Manhattan, born Jonathan Osterman, was a nuclear physicist who was befooled by an accident. One might say a horrible accident, but that all depends on your point of view. A man left with the knowledge of everything, torn apart by his loss of humanity and care for the world. A man left without a goal to care deeply for. A man out of time.
The comedian was right. Humanity's savage nature will inevitably lead to global annihilation. So in order to save this planet, I had to trick it with the greatest practical joke in human history.
Your typical bad guy who reveals his plan to the hero and is stopped before he executes it.
Killing millions.
To save billions. A necessary crime.
You know we can't let you do that.
Do that, Rorschach? I'm not a comic book villain. Do you seriously think I'd explain my masterstroke to you if there were even the slightest possibility you could affect the outcome?
Alright, this isn't that kind of movie. He isn't that kind of a villain. He's the type that actually is the smartest man alive, as he claims to be, manipulating everything to be executed the way he wants it to, and in the end, embracing what is to come. In the end, Ozymandias achieved what he wanted to do all along. Not a lot of villains get that in the end, but it isn't your everyday villain. It all comes down to perspective.
Silk Spectre.
I have a real name I've been using a couple years now. Try it.
Whatever you say, Lori.
Honestly, there isn't much to cover here. She's a character who was somewhat forced by her mother to follow in her footsteps. While doing so, she falls in love with Dr. Manhattan, getting herself under surveillance because of how dangerous he is. There's really nothing more to the character than the fact that she's just stuck between a rock and a hard place. Though this doesn't diminish the meaning of the character. She might not have much depth herself, but her being there influences the story and the characters tremendously. Oh, and the fact that Comedian being her father makes the story even more interesting, but I digress.
The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up around their waists. And all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."
Oh, how does one start to describe this man? What is he? Batman? The Question? Some masked psychopath who thinks himself a detective? None of these things start to describe the sheer range of this character. Alan Moore has said that he drew inspiration from The Question, but even so, I don't think you can compare one to the other. They share only two things: calm demeanor and the outfit. And, the mask, I guess. That's it. Rorschach is one of those characters that are so original that nothing can come close to the level of perfection that was established when they were created. Rorschach being killed is one of those things that you don't expect to happen to such a character like himself. It would be like killing Batman, but Alan Moore did it, and so did Zack Snyder. Rorschach, a man with the face of fear, a man who is true to justice. Justice and nothing else. Even death doesn't stop him from wanting to do the right thing. Not something you'd expect for someone who'd burn a man alive, or just do it the old-fashioned way himself. He's a lost soul living in a savage world, fitting for people like the Comedian. In the end of it all, till his very last breath, he stayed true to what he stood for, the truth.
You're a better night owl than I ever was, Danny boy.
Hollis, we both know that's bullshit.
What do you do when you're a young man, foolish enough to follow your dreams, and you embark on a journey to follow the footsteps of your biggest hero? You end up joining with people trying to do what other heroes known as the Minutemen did, saving everyone and being the good guys. It's that easy, right? Right, it's never that easy. You're probably thinking, Night Owl is a Batman ripoff. You wouldn't be completely wrong with that, except for the fact that they aren't very similar, except for the gadgets and the look. I'd say he looks more like the crime syndicate Owlman. Rorschach being his best friend, he's constantly put in an abusive relationship, mainly mentally, while his relationships with the rest of the Watchmen seem distant. His character adds the balance of both reasonability and ignorance to the picture as his opinions on things shift quickly, as seen in the last scenes of the movie. Moving along, we come to one of the most important things in any movie. As you can hear, I've been adding a bit of the soundtracks around the video, and most likely we'll get copyright strikes for those, but I don't care because this movie it has one of the most perfect soundtracks being used properly than any other. These songs not only add the atmosphere of the movie, but also bring the world of Watchmen right to your ears. You can hear the sadness, the dreariness, the pain that those characters go through, and each beat perfectly used in this movie. Now, this is something that hasn't been done ever in my experience to this degree. Nothing. I mean, nothing in cinema has brought us such an amazing storytelling montage. Usually, montages are cheap ways to spend less time covering either past events, future events, or events that should have happened in the movie, but were made into a montage to save time. This is not the case. Here Snyder executes it with excellence like no one ever before him. Not only does it cover the past 20 years of costumed heroes, but it also shows the downfall and evolution of past and present heroes. It is able to tell a whole movie by itself in great detail in just 5 minutes. It shows Snyder's amazing skills as the movie maker. I'm sure I didn't cover everything, and something most likely slipped my mind, but these are one of the main reasons why I love this movie, and I do think it's a masterpiece. Again, these are my reasons as to why this is my favorite movie of all time. You might not share those opinions, that's fine, but if you don't, or you do, let me know what are your reasons. as to why you like it or you don't. Leave in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.